This is the Hiboy P7 Commuter Electric Bike, and in the next few minutes I'm going to tell you all about it, going through these categories. Then I'm going to throw on my POV camera and we're going to take it out for a test ride. At the end of this video I'll tell you the pros and cons and tell you my final thoughts of the Hiboy P7 Commuter Electric Bike. So for starters, this bike costs about $1,400. I do have a link below this video in the description box so you can check out any current promotions that might be going on. This electric bike comes with a 48 volt 500 watt hub motor. The top speed of this bike is listed at 22. The maximum speed that this motor will help you with is up to 22. It does have a twist throttle as well as 5 levels of pedal assist that can be accessed here in the display. The 500 watt hub motor is powered by a 48 volt 15 amp hour battery that's pretty well concealed in the frame of the bike. You can access the charging port right here, and the other side has an option to insert keys to unlock the battery, and then you twist here and it will drop the battery out of the frame. The manufacturer of this battery is listed as XLX Energy Technology Co. At 15 amp hours, this battery does weigh a pretty good amount. So for transportation or stairs, it is possible to remove the battery, or if you need to charge it outside of the bike, you can take it out of the frame and charge it in an office. According to the official website, that 721 watt hour battery can power a 143 pound rider for 37 miles under pure electric and no pedal assist, or 68 miles under pedal assist. From my experience with batteries, this is a pretty decently sized battery, and we'll be taking it out on the road here in just a few, and I'll let you know how it feels to ride. The Hiboy P7 does have 9 gears paired up to a Shimano Altus gear shifter. And coming around back here, we see it is a Shimano Altus derailleur as well. As far as I can see, the 9 gears are not branded by any specific manufacturer. Commenting on the weight and size of this bike, I weighed it to be 56 pounds. The maximum payload capacity of this bike is 265 pounds. I didn't see any specific information listed for minimum and maximum height for the bike, but I'll tell you that in my ride along here in just a moment, how I feel about it. For your reference, right now I'm 6'5", I weigh 195 pounds. The bike does come with a 2 amp charger, so at the watt hours of this battery, that would take about 7.5 hours to charge this thing from empty. A 2 amp charger is pretty typical for bikes that we see in this price range. However, sometimes we do see 3 amp chargers on some bikes. If you're not happy with that charge time, it is possible to upgrade your charger for a pretty cheap price on Amazon. The Hiboy P7 does come with mechanical disc brakes. The disc brakes are branded Jack Super Brake, and you also get the same exact Jack Super Brake on the rear of the bike. Touching on the comfort of the bike, it does come with front suspension. There is a open and lockout ability, so there aren't like adjustments on the suspension. You either turn it on or off. And then on the left side of the fork, there is a preload adjustment. The Hiboy P7 does come with 27.5 by 2.2 inch wide tires. The tires are branded ZC rubber. Currently, I'm running the front tire on 46 PSI and the rear tire on 35 PSI. The recommended tire range is 35 PSI to 65 PSI. These tires are a pretty standard width and size for a commuter style bike. And the tread on them looks like you could definitely take this on more than just streets. Here's what the pedals look like that come on the bike, and here's what the hand grips look like. They are round, a rather thick roundness to them, and a rubber material. On the right side, you also get a rubber grip, and this is where your twist throttle is, which is also rubber. And while we're here in this area, I should mention, I like that this bike has a shifter under the handle, and to shift gears the other way, the lever is right here. On a lot of other budget bikes I've reviewed, the shifter is up here on top, so I do like that it's under the handlebars on this bike. To turn the bike on, you simply press this button, and it powers right up. The display is very simple and definitely readable. You get your speed in miles per hour, your odometer is right here, your pedal assist mode, which you can toggle right here from 0 all the way up to 5, and then you get your battery level right here on the right. You can also cycle through a few different things, so you get trip. Another thing that I really like about this bike is they have the voltage right here, very easy to read. So the voltage of the battery will always give you a more accurate readout than these like bar style displays. So this is a 48 volt battery. On a full charge, 48 volts actually runs about 52.6, so we can see this is a full charge. Tabbing on over, there is also a time, and then back to odometer. And right here next to the display, you get a very easy on-off switch for the headlight. It's the basic headlight and it works. And a unique thing about this bike is there's actually a horn rather than a normal bell. So here's what it sounds like. Pretty loud. So if you want to be heard on a bike, this bike definitely will allow you to do that. The bike does have a headlight, but there is no tail light or brake light. There is a reflector on the back as well as reflectors on the wheels. You also get a reflector up here on the front, which for style purposes, I do think that this bike would look a little better without the reflectors on there, but for the sake of this review, I'll leave it in stock form. And speaking of looks, I think that the Hiboy P7 actually is a pretty good looking bike. This is the gray version, although it does come in black as well. The paint on this bike has a nice sheen to it. As with many other budget bikes, the welds are not the prettiest, as you can see along here. However, from a distance, I don't think anybody's really looking at welds on this bike. So now I'm gonna throw on my GoPro and we'll take it out for a test ride, and I'll tell you my thoughts and opinions on the Hiboy P7. And if you are enjoying this video, please give me a thumbs up. Any questions or comments you have, please leave down below the video. And don't forget, this is not the only electric bike I've reviewed. I have many other electric bike reviews on my channel. All right, outside on a beautiful day here in Los Angeles, gonna take the Hiboy P7 out for a cruise. First thing I'm noticing about this bike before even getting on it is, for a taller person like myself, I have the saddle at max height. So if you are a really tall person, this might give you kind of a more of aggressive riding position, since this bike only comes in one frame size. So if you're tall, you might need to raise the seat up really high relative to where the handlebars are. All right, so let's get the Hiboy P7 out on the road. It's a beautiful day here in sunny Los Angeles. First thing, before I even get on this bike, I'm noticing the saddle height is pretty high up for my height. I am 6'5", so I have this on the max saddle height. So for riders who are particularly tall like myself, this frame comes in one frame size. So if you have to have the seat super high, it might make it a more of an aggressive riding position for you. Obviously, if you're shorter, that saddle can come down, 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 and it will be lower in proportion to where the handlebars are. The frame kind of drops down, so it kind of makes it for an easy step through to get on the bike. I'll leave the suspension in the unlock position, so it's nice and bouncy. And then turn the bike on, we just hold this button down, power's right up, and to start out, we'll put it on pedal assist 0 just to try it out with no pedal assist whatsoever. First thing I'm noticing about this bike is the handlebars are relatively wide compared to some of the other bikes I've reviewed so far. But my height of 6'5", I am leaned forward a little bit more than I am on other bikes I've reviewed so far as well. So just pedaling the bike under no pedal assist, it works just fine. The gears are shifting. They're all indexed correctly, it appears. Nothing's trying to jump cogs. So it's on gear 9 now, and I can tell that this bike does have a wide range of gears for climbing hills all the way to going for high speeds. So to comment on the gear shifter, I am on gear 9 right now, and I like that this shifter here it shifts multiple gears at once depending how hard you push it in. So if you just push it once, it'll upshift you 1, but you can shift it like 2 or 3 gears at a time depending on how far you push that. So I just jumped quite a few gears there. And then to use to downshift to a tougher gear, you just tap right here. So the controls are like super easy to access for shifting gears on this bike. I actually want to see how many gears I can jump at once. So I'm on gear 8, 1 click. That looks like it jumped 3 gears looking at the cogs. All right, so now let's move on and try some pedal assist levels. I'm gonna go ahead and just bump it on 1 and tell you guys what my experience is like here. So pedal assist 1. Okay, so I'm noticing it kicking in. I believe it's a cadence sensor. So whether or not I'm applying force, it's helping me. And pedal assist 1 takes me up to over 18 miles an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and bump it on over to pedal assist 2 now on gear 5. I didn't notice a huge jump in power. So I'm gonna go ahead and do pedal assist 3. Cruising at about 20 miles an hour. One thing about the cadence sensor is I'd have to say there's a little bit more of a lag on this one from the time I start pedaling till the time that the motor kicks in to actually provide assistance than I've noticed on other bikes. So yeah, there's like a solid 1 to 2 second delay until that pedal assist kicks in to start helping. I don't know if you guys can hear the motor kick on or not. So I'm gonna go ahead and bump it up to pedal assist 4 now, and 5, just all the way up. Oh yeah, that power kicks on substantially more now on pedal assist 5, and it'll help me all the way up to 22 miles per hour according to this. So I want to comment on how the pedal assist modes work on this bike, and I have to admit that I actually like the way that the pedal assist modes work on this bike compared to some of the other models I've reviewed. Some of the other models I reviewed, it seems like when you adjust the pedal assist level, it will try and get you to a particular speed and then just completely stop helping you after you reach that speed. This bike is different in the sense that on pedal assist 1, it will just kind of give you a light pedal assist, and it doesn't seem to really change depending on if you're going like really fast or really slow. It doesn't cut you off at any point. So if you want to be riding this bike at like 20 miles an hour, but only have pedal assist 1 and the motor will just kind of help you just a little bit, this bike will let you do that. Whereas I find on some of the other budget-friendly bikes, it's a little bit difficult to kind of get your pedal assist level just where you want it to just kind of help you out a little bit. It kind of feels like on some of the other models, it's like an on-off switch. Like it's either helping you or not helping you at all. So I can bump this one up to pedal assist 2, and again, it'll just kind of bump up that pedal assist just a little bit. So pedal assist 2, yeah, like it just kicks in like nice and gentle, which is good. Like when you have it on a lower pedal assist, you want it to kick in gentle and just kind of give you like a consistent power output, and then you can choose how fast you want to go depending on how much power you're putting in with your own legs. As far as the motor noise, it's actually a really quiet motor. Just a slight little hum to it under full acceleration. Pretty discreet all around e-bike, I'd have to say. Obviously you can see from the thickness of this tube that there's likely a battery in there, but unlike some other bikes, it's not like a huge obvious battery on there. I switch it over to pedal assist 0, and I'm going to try the twist throttle now. It does not do anything when it's on mode 0. I'll bump it on up to 1. So that's kind of a nice safety feature. So if you want to turn everything off and no surprises from the twist throttle, you can turn it off. And then it does work. It's like a quarter twist throttle. No pedaling. And it brings me up to 20. I had to let off for a second. Brings me up to about 21. I'm gonna have to turn around and run it the other direction here. So 8, 10, 12. 22. So whether it's pedal assist or not, under the default settings, the maximum speed that this motor will help you with is up to 22. I have not logged in to check and see, if I can get in there and hack it to change anything, but from the box, that's what you get. The saddle is a bit firm, and on the spectrum of different kind of e-bikes, I'd have to say, like I mentioned before, this is kind of a bike that's gonna be more likely you're gonna want to pedal and actually get a workout riding this one, just from the geometry and the riding position that it puts you in. We'll check the brakes in just a moment, but I want to take a look at the display here and see what the voltage is. If I tab over to trip, I really like that they show you the actual voltage. So we're at 51.8 volts. I forget what it was to start with, like 52 point something. Anyway, you can see what I was saying, like it shows you full bar, but the actual voltage readout is going to give you a more accurate reading, and we could see a little bit of voltage sag there. It just bumped from 51.8 to 51.9, now back to 52. So voltage sag is common, and you're just gonna see that on every e-bike. Basically all voltage sag is like under acceleration, and when you're using the power, the voltage will dip and then it'll come back up. So now let's test out the brakes on this thing. Just by looking at the rotors, I don't remember what they were stated to be. I'll put that up here if I can find it. But they do look like a little bit smaller rotors than I've seen on other e-bikes. So let's see how the stopping power is. Like I mentioned, this e-bike is 56 pounds, which is not a heavy e-bike, but also not a light e-bike. I've tested e-bikes, you know, like 62 pounds, 72 pounds, and as little as 36 pounds. So let's give these brakes a little bit of a stop test from 15. Yeah, I mean, it stops it for sure. Compared to some other brand mechanical disc brakes, I have to say that these ones don't feel quite as powerful, or they don't give you quite as much feedback somehow. But they definitely get the job done, and they slow you down for sure. Like I said before, I weigh 195 pounds, so that stopping distance and time is going to vary depending on your own personal weight and also how fast you're going. So coming from 22 miles an hour, that was a pretty good stop. So, I mean, I'd have to say I am happy with the stopping power of these brakes. They seem definitely sufficient, and they grab, they slow the bike down. Initially, I thought I was gonna be a little bit disappointed in these rubber hand grips. However, they are like actually really thick, and they're pretty good to grab onto. Under pedal assist 5, this thing really does get moving. It brings you right up to that top speed of right around 22. So I don't know if there's an actual class for this bike listed. Generally, bikes that bring you up to about 20 under assistance from the motor would be a class 2 e-bike. Time will tell how these tires will hold up. It's a brand I'm unfamiliar with. Overall though, the bike is like comfortable to ride. As far as the suspension, these little adjustments up here are kind of like a plasticky feel. So not like the highest quality suspension, you can tell that right away. Another thing that indicates it's not like the highest quality suspension is there's no adjustment on this one. It's just basically you turn it all on or all off. And then you do get the preload on the other side. Suspension definitely has like pretty good travel to it, and just having that front suspension, it really takes a lot of the impact of little stuff that you just run over on the road off of your arms, and especially on a bike that kind of puts you where you're putting more of your weight up on your front arms. That's extra handy. So it just, you know, takes away a lot of the impact. To tell you the truth, I'm actually liking this bike more than I thought I was going to when I was building it. We're gonna have to do a hill climb in the garage here in just a moment, but before we do that, let's head over to the park and see how it does, kind of like off-road and stuff like that. So let's just ride it through here, off-road a little bit. I'm gonna turn the pedal assist down to 2, take it through this grass. I need to downshift the gears. So off-road in the grass, up the hill, I can do it. You can tell it's a little bit less powerful of a motor than some of the other bikes I've ridden. It is a commuter bike, but honestly, like the way this thing's laid out, the setup of it kind of feels a little bit more like a hardtail mountain bike to some degree. Here is the hill we're gonna do. It is a steep hill. So now what we'll do is we'll roll up to this hill at about 5 miles an hour, put it on maximum pedal assist, but just give it a little bit of help, full throttle. I'm not helping it really, just kind of barely. And it can make it up a steep hill. This bike is not really designed to be a hill climber, but it can do a pretty steep hill. So now what I'm gonna do is just roll in at about 7 or 8 miles an hour and then use throttle only. Full throttle. Can it do it? It'd probably help it just a little bit. So this performs pretty much the same as my other 500 watt hub motor bikes. I wouldn't say it can like demolish and just eat hills for lunch, but it can get the job done if you encounter, a reasonable hill on your commute. So let's go through the pros and cons of the Hiboy P7 and let me give you my final thoughts on this bike. So it's listed as a commuter bike, but if you look at it, it's probably actually more of a hardtail mountain bike / gravel bike. It has flat bars versus like the riser bars we see on other commuter bikes, and it doesn't have any fenders to prevent water from kicking up on you. And the tread on those tires is set up more for riding off-road than on streets. So let's start with the pros of the Hiboy P7. The thing that I like best about the P7 is the pedal assist modes. For a cadence-based system, I think that this pedal assist system is actually really good compared to other bikes I've ridden in a similar price point. Another one of the pros of this electric bike is the gear shifter. This has a 9-speed Shimano shifter, whereas other bikes in the same price tier have had 7-speed shifters. In addition, I like that the shifter on this bike is under the handlebar instead of on top of it, making it easier and more natural for shifting. And the best thing I like about the shifter is you can downshift more than one gear, up to 3 gears at a time, with one push of a button depending on how far you push it. And this is another feature that is pretty similar to what you would find on a gravel bike. Being able to downshift multiple gears at once is really handy if you're encountering a hill that's coming around a corner and it's approaching rapidly. Another one of the pros of this bike is it's relatively light at 56 pounds, considering it does have a 15 amp hour battery. So far of the bikes that I've reviewed at about a 55 pound weight, this bike has more watt hours than other bikes I've reviewed. Another one of the pros of this bike is the display easily shows you the voltage readout for a more accurate reading of where your battery life is. Another one of the pros of this e-bike is it has a loud horn. So let's talk about some of the cons of the Hiboy P7. The 160mm rotors on this bike are sufficient for the bike's weight, but the jack mechanical brakes aren't quite as good as brakes we've seen on other bikes in this price tier. While the battery does have a 720 watt-hour capacity, the cells in that battery are not of a major manufacturer like LG, Samsung, or Panasonic. Instead, it's just branded XLX. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, I'm just unfamiliar with these cells. The screen does give you that voltage display, but compared to other screens in this price point I've seen, it's not the most beautiful screen and it's a little bit smaller too. Speaking of unbranded components, while the shifter and derailleur are Shimano, there are quite a few different components on this bike that I'm just really not familiar with the brands of these components. And also, while the bike does have front suspension to help mellow out those bumps in uneven terrain, this bike basically only has the ability to lock out the front suspension or unlock it. Other bikes in this price point do have the ability to adjust the compression component of that suspension rather than just lock it out or have it open. If you did find this review helpful and you're interested in buying the Hiboy P7, I do have a link below this video in the description box. If you did buy this bike through that link below, it would help support Tail Happy TV at no additional cost to you, and I would greatly appreciate your support. If you want to check out other electric bike reviews, be sure to browse my channel for other bikes in this similar price tier. Please give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Any questions or comments, please leave down below. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time.